Brooke Lather here from CoveTV, and I'm actually here today with the beautiful Claire Irwin, the editor of Cove magazine. We've got a beautiful opportunity to chat with Joe Francis, the retail marketing manager for Asia for Natuzzi. Now, if you don't know much about Natuzzi, and I'd have to say you probably do, Natuzzi is the beautiful Italian furniture brand which have branched off into a lot of the lifestyle brands. We've got the bedding and also not only their beautiful couches which have been around since the 1950s, but we are lucky enough to have some brand new products here at Natuzzi that have landed on our shores in Australia.
Now, Joe, I know that you've been involved with the brand, Natuzzi brand, for a long time.
Yes.
Tell me how you started.
Sure.
And how long ago was that?
Okay, so I worked for David Jones for 18 years, and during that 18
in Sydney?
In Sydney, in head office. So I was the national buyer for furniture, and during that time David Jones went from being a general department store to what we've classified the house of brands. And part of doing that was travelling around the world, which sounds really glamorous. And it was in some stages, but in others wasn't. And looking for international as well as local brands that we could put into David Jones and make them what they wanted to be. So Natuzzi for us started in our Sydney store, and it was actually the first Natuzzi gallery in the world. So what you see today with a store like this, back in those days, Natuzzi was just a leather upholstery maker. They sold into department stores. You'd see a Natuzzi sofa there, Natuzzi sofa, or might be in Harvey Norman or Myer or whatever. But we put it all together into a concept, and then we rolled out David Jones galleries, and from there Natuzzi actually started rolling out galleries and stores around the world. So I knew Natuzzi 15 years ago. I met Mr. Natuzzi back then. He's a phenomenal man. And although I went out of furniture for part of my career, I've always respected the brand. They're phenomenal and love them to death.
And when this opportunity for the store here in Queensland,
Yes.
so you were they offered it to you, or
Yes,
because you
so
knew the brand so well?
Absolutely. I was between jobs, and they knew I was between jobs, and they contacted me and said, we can't find a dealer for our Queensland business. I'm in Sydney, it meant investing money, and I said, no, I love your brand, but no, I'm not really into that. However, thought about it again, did the numbers, and actually thought, why not? Like, it means I can be my own boss. I've had too many years of working for people that you sometimes don't agree with. It would be good to do it for myself. And we agreed to do it, and then we set up this store here in Newstead, where we are now, which this site was an industrial site. So it was some very old-fashioned electrical and I think a plumbing store. And the architects in Italy actually took the plans and developed it into a retail site from Italy, which was pretty amazing. They didn't once come here, but they did all the plans, did all the architecture.
Because it's a gorgeous size, because you need a size to display your beautiful furniture anyway.
Yeah, it's 860 square metres.
So and now they're doing tables, they're doing everything. Everything in the store, you told me, was from Italy.
Yes. So Natuzzi has two brands. Natuzzi Italia, which is where we are now, is their made in Italy brand. And over the years, because manufacturing in Italy has become not as competitive against the Chinese manufacturing or the Asian manufacturing, they took the decision to call it Natuzzi Italia, which means Natuzzi Italy. And everything in the showroom is made in Italy, bar rugs, because the Italians don't actually make rugs, or very few rugs, which is quite exciting. And the other thing is things like coffee tables, beautiful cabinets, etc., is now up to 30% of their sales, where it used to only be all upholstery. So the whole, what they would call lifestyle. Harmonious living is very important to Natuzzi, so they want to make sure that every piece blends into each other and you feel like you're in a harmonious place. Very important.
Yeah. No, it's gorgeous. When I first came to Australia, I still have my two Natuzzi sofas, and that is about 13 years ago. and they're still gorgeous, and I still love them.
It's amazing how many return customers walk in the store and say, I've had my Natuzzi for 15 years. I want another one. Which is fantastic.
Yes, it is. That's great. And love the smell when you come into this beautiful showroom. It's just fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you have favorite styles when they come in, or do you?
Natuzzi do a lot now with global designers. So they've started using global designers to design for them, and the brief they give them is make it that it comes from our homeland, which is Puglia. So Natuzzi comes from southern Italy in what you call the Puglian region. And if you look around the showroom here where we have the light walls, they're all seams from Puglia. So they say to the global designers, design something that's at home in Puglia. So the colours, the textures, the shapes are all resemble some part of the landscape in Puglia. And some of the designers they've used recently are people like Marcel Wanders, Bellini, etc. And that's where I get passionate, where they've got the global designers who have stood somewhere in Puglia and created something that's actually part of the landscape, and that's why it's so harmonious, because the countryside, the landscape is beautiful.
It's beautiful,
and that's why it makes it so beautiful in your home.
That's right. And the one we're sitting on now is gorgeous. Isn't it? That's beautiful. Yes.
And the leather feels like butter.
It does.
That's another important part with Natuzzi. It's almost close to 90% now of the materials of what they make are made by themselves. So they're a fully integrated company.
From start to finish.
Yeah, so the leather on here comes from a Natuzzi tannery in northern Italy. The foam comes from Natuzzi's foam factory, so they control their materials, and it also gives value to the consumer. Because Mr. Natuzzi's largest philosophy when he started the business in 1959 was that he wanted furniture, beautiful furniture that would be affordable. And by manufacturing everything themselves, they cut out middlemen and you get beautiful furniture. Now, you can still buy sofas in the showroom for 10, 20, even 30,000. But if you looked at the competitors in that same quality, you could be paying 30, 40, 50,000. So it's all about value for money.
Value for money.
And
is what everybody wants now.
Correct.
Thank you very much, Jo. It's been really interesting.
No problem. Thanks, Claire.